What an amazing turn of events recently. We have some guidance from the Q source to keep a steady course today. Is your health on a steady course? It's important to keep your body healthy and youthful all the time these days. Collagen may be the closest thing we will ever get to a real fountain of youth, while also forming a wall of defense between your immune system and the rest of your body. 75 to 90% of your skin, bones, joints, and tendons are made of this age-defying nutrient. So visit my page for more information in the description box below, healthwithok.com. That's healthwithok.com.
God bless you. God bless you. Make this nation a great nation. Every African American, every white American, every Chinese American, every Muslim American, every American. We're all American citizens, and we all need one another. And if this nation is going to be saved, it's going to be saved because we all have come together, and we are all my family, your family. Yes, we know what happened in the past. But listen, we have to forgive the past. We have to forgive what my fathers did to your father, what your fathers did to my father.
Absolutely amazing, right? This is from SSG_Pain on Twitter. Posted this video. It's an extremely important one. It should go viral. However, that's solely up to you. There should be millions, literally millions of people in these marches to show the MSM and Soros they can't win the division tactic that they deployed. Well, another great video posted by Art Valley 818, who was on recently on Fox News with the use of one of his Twitter posts. Don't be a sheep.
In case you guys didn't hear, Governor Inslee, in his infinite wisdom, has decided after over 100 and some odd days that we should all wear face masks inside and out. Here's what I say. Don't be a sheep.
Pretty amazing. The Washington State Sheriff tells the citizens not to wear masks and not to be sheep. Well, this channel is Romans 8:28. It's what it's based off of, my favorite verse, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. And we just thank you so much for following us. We're at 329,000 subscribers. Also, our backup channel, And We Know Too, we put live interviews there. We're on DropSpace, andweknow.com, where you can find all of our articles for shirts and pants and coffee cups. Thank you for that. We're on Twitter at @AndWeKnow, and also Facebook and Parler. All that's in the description box below. This is a great video where the president gave a tour with a Fox News host. I enjoyed this one, especially with some of the context involved.
Office. Give us an idea of what it's like being here, knowing there's pictures of Kennedy, John JFK Jr.
So this is the Resolute desk, which is very famous.
Right.
And I could show you the picture of John with the panel right here. It's a panel. It didn't used to have the panel, but when FDR sat behind that desk, he wanted a panel. This is an original photo, right? You can see it. And it's right there. And that opens up, and that's John Kennedy. That's John. Who was a friend of mine. And who was getting ready. He was going to sell George magazine. He was a good friend. He was a great guy. And he was going to run for political office. He would have been very tough to beat. He had a lot of things going, including the look. We're not supposed to be talking about look anymore and under the Me Too generation, but he had the look.
And do you remember the first time you were in the White House?
Well, it's pretty amazing as he's talking about Kennedy and his friend. He calls him John. And a lot of folks are trying to interpret this with, was he saying is my friend or was my friend? Just leave that up to you guys to share on your own. On Twitter, there's a lot of debate going on that particular subject. Well, the Q board was pretty particular in showing that there's plenty of room for Q proofs that Q is real and is definitely working with the president. We believe Q is a team of people, or I do. Q4536 was posted. If the news is untrustworthy, corrupt, controlled, and simply an extension arm of the Democrat Party, how do you circumvent controlled lines of comms or propaganda? How do you communicate directly with the people? Well, we know how it's happening. It's happening through 8chan, and then it's ending up on several platforms that have taken the Q drops, like QAnon.pub or QMap.pub also. That's in the description box below if you want to read those Q drops. Back channels are important. Yes, they are. Information warfare. This is a war for information. We're finding more and more that channels are being suppressed. We find that they're taking the algorithms for this channel on this platform on YouTube to destroy it. And those that are out there putting out the truth, they want us gone. Knowledge is what? It's power. Q. Well, in that knowledge, we had a drop from the Spun Q on Twitter, and it was basically showing proofs of Q drops. One of those that I did not talk about earlier was that there was a 3-second timestamp between the president's Twitter drop here recently, and they said Dan is to blame. Well, Dan, we believe, is Dan Scavino Jr. is the one that's being referred to there, and that's why I put that picture from the Twitter post of Dan. But if you look here, you simply go in and look at this drop. You'll notice that the president's drop for coronavirus deaths are way down, was dropped at 8:54:49, and the Q drop was dropped on the same day at 8:54:46. So it was off by 3 seconds. And somebody said, wow, another 0 delta. 0 delta means it was at the same time. Well, Q said it's 3 seconds off, and that's Dan's fault. So a little humor there. Also, something big is coming, and we had this from the Decode at the Spun Q. If you notice, on these pictures and drops that were posted, 28 December 2019 on the left, you'll notice that this guy standing right here with a what I call a military or Marine Corps crew cut at the front of the what looks like Marine HMX right there. When will they ask the question? Something big is coming, Q. Well, then you've got the guy standing right here, the same guy in this picture, and you'll notice that all the way over here is Dan Scavino, we believe, walking with the president at all times, so that could be Q. And then Q is a back channel again to communicate, and they had many from the Spun Q posted of Q proofs. I just pulled a couple of them that it seemed to be referencing that we would enjoy. And one here, we had 6/20/2018 and 2020. Look for more direct confirmation. There's a 2-year delta, 2 years to the day from the time that it was posted on the Q board. So you had 20 June 2018 together, where we go one, we go all, winning. And then the Q board said on 20 June 2018, look for more direct confirmation. It's time. Well, sure enough, 2 years later, on 6/20/2020, we had Eric Trump drop a post, who's ready for the Trump rally tonight? And he had a Q right there behind that text. Let me zoom in for you to look at. And then had hashtag where we go went on. Of course, we read a little bit of that article in a past video where he got attacked for supporting the Q movement, which they say were a bunch of mean people that, you know, we like to tear down statues to and go down and protest and beat up police, right? That's what they want folks to believe, but that's fallen apart. But they're going to continue to attack the Q movement. We know that. Well, 4535 was dropped with plenty of text, and I broke it down piece by piece for us today for this video so that we can just grasp each just one bite at a time. So Q4535, this represents a clear and present danger to the Constitutional Republic of the USA. That's the title of this. A person's value, 1, vote. Number 2, monetary value. tax contribution. That, our value's worth the taxes that we pay. And I know I've paid an awful lot here coming up before July 15th. It's going to be really ugly. So number 3, it looks like it's empty. And then you have, why is free thought ridiculed, challenged, and threatened when a person is opposed to the mainstream narrative? Because it threatens them, and it threatens their power, and it threatens the monetary value that we're worth, right? Number 2, remains fixed, degree allowable by economic recession expansion. So, number 2, the monetary value changes due to economic recession, what have you. Number 1, remains a variable, that's your vote. Dependent on a controlled system of information dissemination, what happens when 90% of the media is controlled and owned by 6 corporations? Well, we went and found those. Once again, you have GE, News Corp, Disney, Viacom, Time Warner, and CBS. These are the 6 companies. They control everything that we see coming through that screen. So it's the illusion of choice. Media has never been consolidated. 6 media giants that control 90% of what we read, watch, and listen. And here's a reminder, if you haven't seen this video, check it out.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble government irresponsible one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And this video continues with them saying this is extremely dangerous to our democracy. Every small news station, large news station, all putting out the same info. Well, what happens when those same corporations are operated and controlled by a political ideology? They're all being controlled by the Dems, by the liberal Marxist talking points. What happens when the news is no longer free from bias? What happens when the news is no longer reliable and independent? What happens when the news is no longer trustworthy? Well, what happens, folks? We start going out and looking for the truth. And thanks to the Q board and Q drops, we're starting to get the truth handed to us directly. So what happens when the news simply becomes an extension arm of a political party? We know that the media is controlled, and it's an extension of the Democrats and their liberal talking points, and their destruction of this nation is at the forefront. They can't stand the United States, yet they're running 90% of what goes into our TV, into our ears, and it's happening in the universities, a lot of them also. Well, then fact becomes fiction, and then fiction becomes fact. When does news become propaganda? Identity creation, right? There's a question. Is it identity creation? Well, interesting, because when you play this video, you'll notice that it's fed from one source down to all the local channels, and they read what's given to them instead of them making up their own mind. Well, this small clip with Lou Dobbs talking with David Harris Jr. provides a great example of fact becoming fiction and fiction becoming fact, and shows that the media is the arm of the Dem party. Way to go, David Harris.
How about the passive citizenry of Seattle, who are accepting this without apparent protest? A handful of businesses are suing the city because they're destroying them. Businesses are leaving the city, but the city is just sitting there again, much like Senate Republicans, inert and not. But unlike the Republicans, they're quiet as they can be, respectful of the fact that these folks are going to take over the city and do as they will.
The only thing that comes to mind, other than the fact that I've heard people say that liberalism is a mental disorder and that they actually think that they're right, is that the mainstream media has done such an amazing job of lying to the American people and creating this idea that black men are being hunted by the police. The facts don't back that up. There were 10 black men that were unarmed that were shot and killed by police last year. Out of those 10, 5 of those individuals actually were in the middle of attacking the officer when it happened. One of those individuals, it was an accident, and out of the other 4, 2 of them, the charges were the officers were criminally charged. So that's drastically different and less than in 2015 under Barack Obama's presidency, when 38 men were shot and killed by police. But there was no uproar. There was no anarchy. It is all about this president's election this year. It is all about the Democrats and liberals not getting their way, and they're okay with anarchy.
That's right. They're okay with anarchy. That's a great point. So how does the average person, we're continuing with that Q drop, who is under constant financial stress by design, that's by design that most of us are under financial stress, find time to research and discern fact versus fiction? We don't have much time to do that. That's why a lot of us tune in to platforms like this, where we're trying to take the time after our working hours to put this together, because we're fighting in a war, an information war, to get out to the folks, because we've been put here on this earth at this time by our Creator for such a time as this. That's me saying that. Let's continue on with Q. Majority of people more prone to believe someone in power sitting behind a big brand news name. That's what most people believe, right? It's all pretty, shiny lights, and they make it look like it's the truth. Do people, the human psyche, tend to follow the majority mainstream viewpoint in fear of being isolated and or shunned? Yeah, they don't want to be the odd person out. Mainstream is used for a reason, dominate trend and opinion. If majority of people believe X, then X must be validated and true. Why do mainstream media heads within different orgs always use the same keywords and or catchphrases? Well, I just mentioned that because they're feeding it from one source. It's going out to everyone through the computer into each place that puts out the news, and they take those talking points and run with them word for word. Is this coordinated by who? Well, we know it's by the deep state. We also know C_A puts this information out. Outside entity providing instructions? So I put this picture of Der Spiegel on the right just to give you a quick rundown of something I experienced in 2008. Reminds me of when I was in government service after getting out in the Marine Corps. And right after the election, right? And we had to stay in our landlord's house because the house that we were supposed to move in wasn't completely done. And when we were there, they made great breakfast, great dinner. It was wonderful. And they were bragging about their love for the previous administration president by the initials B.O. I don't like to say his name. I asked them who told them that he was such a wonderful person. And they were confused, and I asked again, I said, who told you? And they said, what do you mean? I said, did you get this from reading newspapers and watching the media? And she goes, yeah, Der Spiegel and CNN and all these other sources that they were getting their information from. I said, isn't that interesting that you believed every single thing that they told you? And I spent the next 2 days, 3 hours a night at the dinner table telling them the truth. And she was in shock. Her hand over her heart many times, because nobody had ever told them anything different. It was an amazing time for us to share with one another what was being, all the lies that were being put out about him, trying to make him look like he was all that, but he wasn't. Anyway, we already know this, so continuing on with the Q drops, do they count on the fact that people, human psyche, are more prone to believe something if heard over and over and over again by different trusted sources, trusted quote unquote? Do echo chamber tactics provide validations, credibility to the topic point being discussed? Threat to intellectual freedom? Would control over of these institutions, organizations allow for the mass control of population's viewpoint regarding a desired topic? He says to read it again and digest this one. Would control over of these institutions, organizations allow for the mass control of a population's viewpoint regarding a desired topic? Think Black Lives Matter push every 4 years, logical thinking. They only push the Black Lives Matter, folks, during the election years. We've covered this in past videos. They only come after us when they need the votes. And then they turn it off again. Well, it's interesting because Joe M. put out a great video, COVID 911 insurgency. I put it in the description box below. I'm not going to play the entire video, but here's just a clip to get you excited to go down there and check it out if you haven't seen it already. This is a preview only.
Stop what you're doing. I'm about to show you something you already suspect deep inside, but can't explain. The United States of America is currently in the midst of a war. Not the kind when one country attacks another with missiles or tanks. Not like warplanes dropping bombs on our Pacific Fleet. Not like a hostile neighbor launching a surprise invasion across our borders. Instead, we face a cruel and merciless enemy who invented a whole new type of war, one that threatens us now more than all the bombs in the world. They are motivated by pure greed and inconceivable cruelty, and have been silently reversing all that is good for so long that we became lulled into a state of self-destructive compliance, while they tore us apart and robbed us blind. When patriots took back key branches of the U.S. government in 2016, a light was turned on to the vast corruption network that had infiltrated into the highest positions of power across every state. Only then did ordinary citizens begin to realize how close we had come to the end of it all. But first we must endure one last painful battle that will touch every citizen, no matter who they are. Right now, the country is being torn apart by the biggest political hoax and coordinated mass media disinformation campaign in living history. You may know it as COVID-19.
So this video is pretty amazing. I advise you to check it out if you can. It's probably, I think it's 10 or 11 minutes long. Could be wrong. Well, Joe, used to be on Twitter. Well, Twitter took him down. @Storm is upon us. Didn't like him because he's putting out so much truth. And he ended up on Gab, putting out information there. And BitChute's got videos from Joe M. also. Definitely miss him on the Twitter side. Well, continuing on with the Q drop, why, after the election of 2016, did Dees and Media Corps jumpstart a coordinated and planned divisive blitz intended to create falsehoods regarding illegitimacy of election, character assassination of the President of the United States through sexism, racism, every other ism? Well, I'll answer that question. They want everyone to doubt all the decisions that's being made by him. And I tell you, even more so, he's been bringing up the word traitor quite a bit regarding the recent administration. This is me talking, not the Q board. And it's amazing that by putting in folks' minds over 3.5 years that the president is illegitimate and he's crazy and he doesn't have what it takes to be the president, by him mentioning treason, it then puts the effect of that word, which is pretty heavy, it kind of takes that effect and puts it away where it's not as big a deal because they've made him look from the opposite end like he's not that great of a president. Well, we know better. How much of the this is Q continued, how much of the population still believes POTUS colluded with Russia due to MSDNC 365 blitz? No MSDNC retraction of POTUS Russia collusion narrative propaganda. Why? How come they didn't retract everything after they figured out Russia collusion? There was nothing there. They can't because they're getting paid. They're owned. And they need to win this election this year because they're trying to keep their illegal activities continued. They don't want to lose their power. Pre-post 2016 election, well, continuing on, why were our violent mass terror orgs such as Antifa immediately coded or created, funded, and allowed to operate within Dem-controlled cities and safe zones? Well, we got George Soros on the left. I put that there. One of the richest men in the world has pledged to take down the USA before he dies. How? Without a single bullet, he funds leftist groups, the Antifa, ACLU, Move On, SPLC, Black Lives Matter, Clinton Foundation, and more. And they created this and allow it. And I believe they are trying to get the city shut down, get the police to move out, make everybody scared to even walk in and actually cast a ballot. So they're going to want to do it from home because they'll be too scared to do it. That's my theory. Well, there's a video down here, Anarchy in America, and this is where Greg Gutfeld gets into what's being said about all of this violence in safe zones.
When you look at those pasty white wimps out there running around vandalizing and destroying property, I realize that I have absolutely nothing in common with these laughable losers. And in fact, when anybody looks at the TV, they realize they have nothing in common as a white person with these failures. So it's insulting to me, and it should be insulting to every white person, that you think that race binds us. It doesn't bind us. I have more in common with black winners than white losers. And that's the truth of all human beings. What ties us together is achievement and not grievance.
So it continues on. I put it in the description box below, and it's very interesting. I really think that these mayors are trying to stay in power, and they're trying to cheat the system, and they've already been getting caught with some of these mail-in ballots. And there was one that was referenced, I'll put it in the next video, of a couple of guys that were caught already trying to get their votes in illegally. I believe it was in New Jersey. So this happened here in St. Louis as these folks were marching into the housing areas where the houses were. Watch this. And you see he's holding a weapon. She's holding a pistol. It's very interesting because imagine if they would have gotten rid of our Second Amendment rights, folks. This would have been a lot worse. Well, continuing on, rioters were claiming their innocence after police pushed through the scene. They already smashed in the back window of the police cruiser, blocked the road, surrounded, jumped, and beat on the car. And there they go, all the spoiled children. It's amazing to me. I'm going to back this up. When this guy stood up in front of the vehicle right here, why didn't he jump out of the way? Why did he stay there still? Unbelievable. And he says, I'll just go ahead and get run over. These guys are they're losing their mind, and I really believe this is demon possession that's right in front of us, folks. Well, the president had a great commercial to cover all of this.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
If this country doesn't give us what we want, then we will burn down this system.
That is what the word radical really means. I've never been offended, and I embrace that term.
We need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
We are not answering 911 calls right now to the personnel issue.
Get out! Oh, you okay? You hit? You hit? She's hit? She's hit?
If this country doesn't give us what we want, then we will burn down this system and replace it.
We have an incredible opportunity to not just dig out of this crisis, but to fundamentally transform the country.
That's right. Vote for Trump and stop it. Well, we got some more craziness. If you didn't see this, Saturday in St. Louis, there's an older man assaulted by a mob. The guy on the left was wearing brass knuckles, and I believe the photo that I forgot to bring in is right here. There it is. And so you've got him reaching back. He's got the brass knuckles, and look what he does with those knuckles. They go all the way into his face. And this is when they're trying to have a time of prayer. So this is what Dan Bongino had to say about this.
Clear, this is about intimidation and this is about power. The left is done negotiating. They're done. What was that line from, was it Tom Cruise in The Firm? You know, they're not asking anymore. And I would only have a slight disagreement with one thing you said. You said violence won't get us anywhere. It won't get us, me and you, and we would never do that because we believe in God-given rights for everyone. But it is getting the left a whole lot of places. No one's stopping them. Who's stopping them in these major cities?
That's right. Who's stopping them in these major cities? Well, nobody's stopping these folks from gathering in Chicago. There's aerial footage showing massive crowds rallying to celebrate Pride in Chicago. Continuing on with the Q drops while you're watching that. Why were these orgs tasked with immediate intimidation, shutdown of any pro-POTUS rallies and or events? Why were marches immediately organized to counter and silence the pro-POTUS rallies and or events? Why were marches immediately organized which divided people into sex, gender, race, ism? Why, when you control the levers of news dissemination, you control the narrative. That's right. They control all the news dissemination, everything that's coming out. They control the narrative that equals power. When you're blind, what do you see? They want you divided by religion, race, sex, political affiliation, and class. Folks, if we were able to change the narrative ourselves and talk about the police, for instance, they want to keep showing us all these cities getting destroyed, all the statues coming down. Imagine if we were able to have a news source that goes out and shows you all the cities across America where folks go in and meet with their police officers, give them some donuts and coffee, pray with them every single day. Where's that video? Well, they don't want us to see that, do they? So continuing on, when you are divided and angry and controlled, you target those different from you, not those responsible. Controllers. Divided, you are weak. Divided, you pose no threat to their control. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and or stable. Livestock kept, sheep. When you are awake, you stand on the outside of the stable, groupthink, collective, and have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that positions regarding truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, and empiricism rather than authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma. This represents a clear and present danger to the constitutional republic of the United States of America. There's folks out there fighting. There's this guy actually trying to protect the statue with Abraham Lincoln, where this slave is going free. He has one shackle. They want to take this one down, but it's actually a very amazing thing that happened.
You see, a lot of people are out. You see, a lot of people are out here talking about tearing something down that they don't even know the history of. If you're going to protest something, protest turning it back the way it was facing, which was the Capitol. That's the way that statue was facing. Y'all don't even know the history of this statue, but you want to tear it down because you are offended. I'm talking.
So this guy apparently does tours, and it's the DCBlackTours.com. They said they're planning the protesters to take down the Abraham Lincoln in the Capitol, meant to commemorate his 1863 proclamation freeing enslaved people in the rebel states of the height of the Civil War. He's out there fighting to protect it. Well, there's active investigations into arson and property damage, 500 plus, from Attorney General William Barr. That's a great picture there. And what's really cool is the President of the United States on Twitter was actually posting this stuff. United States Park Police Criminal Investigations Major Crimes Unit attempt to identify. Well, President Trump was tweeting these out. There's their pictures. Left, destroying. Bottom right, destroying. There's the picture. Top right, there's another picture. This is from the President of the United States. Well, it continued on. I'm going to play this. You'll notice as it scrolls through, you got every single person straight from the President of the United States. Can you imagine if your picture showed up and the President tweeted it out showing that you committed a crime and he just signed a bill basically saying you get up to 10 years for doing this? Whew. Boy, I would not want to be in those pictures. Absolutely unbelievable. Just love our president and what he is doing? Well, he also retweeted this video. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. You must watch. Here we go.
If I say all lives matter, I'm a racist. If I stand for my flag, I have to apologize for it. I'm not allowed to go to church, but I can burn churches to the ground. I'm not allowed to open my own business, but I can go loot and destroy other people's businesses. If I wear a badge, have a gun, and I'm dressed in blue, I'm a racist pig. But if I walk around destroying my city with bricks and masks, I'm considered a peaceful protester. I'm not allowed to peacefully protest the lockdown at my capital, but I can go destroy and graffiti my capital. I'm not allowed to go to the park to play t-ball with my family, but I can destroy the park. I'm not allowed to protect our historical monuments and history, but I can go tear them down and have them land on top of people. I'm not allowed to have an opinion on racial matters because I'm white, but if I don't have an opinion on it, I'm the reason why people are oppressed. I can go riot in the streets with the BLM, but if I go to a Trump rally, COVID-19 magically appears.
Pretty amazing right there. We put that in the description box below. Also amazing was this young lady standing up while everybody else is kneeling. Laura Ingram said, "This is courage." Dinesh D'Souza said, "When there is pressure to conform, to declare that we are worms, there is 1 person in 10 who is brave enough to say, I am not a worm. I will not kneel. I will not fly the swastika flag. In all times and places, that person is the hope of the future." People are waking up. D. Party Con. Q.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you once again for always providing for our president what is needed each and every day to secure our nation and to help us get through this storm. We ask that you continue to protect him and his family and those that are around him. We thank you for the energy that you continue to bring upon his life and his body. We just ask that you continue to surround him with warring angels to protect him from the demons who are trying so hard to protect the power that they currently have and are losing. We ask for continued protection over our families. Help us, Lord, as we continue to talk to our neighbors and our friends and family about the truth, about you, and all that is truth. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. If you like this video, folks, please hit that like button and share. Sharing gets around the algorithm set up to destroy this channel. Thank you so much for the comments below. Thank you for supporting us by grabbing items in our store. That's in the description box below. Thank you for the PayPal donations. So thankful for that. And for the patrons who support us each month. Thank you. For now, this is LT with And We Know, signing out.